What's happening? I've got a real quick question for you. Are your beliefs holding you back or are they pushing you forward? When it comes to dealing with situations in life that force us outside of our comfort zone or outside of our experience, there's two main types of beliefs that we're likely to be stuck with. On the one hand, they could be limiting beliefs, which are the things that we believe that will stop us from staying outside of our comfort zone and keep us in places that we're used to and we're comfortable and we feel safe in. Or on the other side, it will be faith-filled beliefs, which will be the belief that even though this is something that I've either never done, even though I'm uncomfortable, and even though it's outside of my experience, I stand with a God who, despite my experience, despite the fact that I may have failed at this before, will empower me to step out and do what would otherwise be impossible. You see, the Bible has a word that I think really does illustrate the idea of the types of beliefs we might have in these situations really, really well. And that word is strongholds. You see, stronghold isn't a word that we might use a lot today. But to make it a little bit clearer, in times of war, difficulty, danger, a stronghold would be like a fortress, a place of shelter, and ultimately a safe place that one could run to in order to keep from harm's way. And so when it comes to this idea of stepping outside of our comfort zone and the types of beliefs that we might have in those situations, where does your mind run to when you're faced by challenging conditions? Where does your thinking go when it seems like stepping out and taking this uncomfortable decision feels really scary? What are the beliefs that your mind defaults to thinking when you're uncomfortable and in either uncharted waters or an environment where you failed before? And so when it comes to progressing in your career, are you the type of person that thinks, well, no, I'm black, people like us don't really get into senior positions, and so I'm going to stay comfortable with the role that I have and I'm just going to take what I'm given? Or do you step out in faith and say, yes, I'm black, there's not many of us, so it's easier for them to remember me, and even if there aren't many of us already there, I know that God will equip me with what it takes to get there and to open the door for many more to follow? Or maybe in launching or running a business, does your mind go to thinking, I don't have the money or the skills and experience to build an empire like he or she did in the middle of a recession? Or do your beliefs switch to faith and say, even if I don't have a lot of money and a lot of resources, I trust and know that with God, all of the resources that I actually need will be provided, even if that means I'm going to have to start off operating with a much skinnier budget and seeing God turn 2 fish and 5 loaves into something that feeds 5,000 plus. Or maybe in traditional ministry, are you held back by thinking you don't know enough yet or you don't have a big enough following, and so you'd rather settle for a much lower experience than you're called to, where you don't actually serve but you're constantly feeding? Or do you step out in faith and say, I might not know it all, but with the little that I do know, I'm going to be as faithful as I can, regardless of how big the following is or isn't, and trust that God will use it to meet the people that it needs? What limiting beliefs might be holding you back? And have you sacrificed hearing, well done my good and faithful servant, because you've accepted limiting beliefs that God never gave you? Peace.